Hi everyone, thank you for stopping by. This is Joe Banks. I'm one of the school counselors at Patriot High School, and this is the recorded version of the presentation I gave on January 15th, 2020. If you weren't able to make it, or sorry, hopefully this will be just as helpful. If you're just stopping by again, hopefully this will clarify anything I said this past Wednesday. Alright, so the agenda here for today, we're mainly going to spend time on the registration process, but to help with that, we'll talk about the levels of classes and how to get your students in the classes most suitable for them. I'm going to talk about the ninth grade schedule so you have an idea of how everything works. Schedule-wise, go over graduation requirements. I'm not really going to talk about specialty programs. That was given by Ms. Swanson. I'm going to let her handle most of those questions. I will talk about it briefly. And I'll have some frequently asked questions at the end. Just to talk about Patriot. So this is kind of some information that we send to colleges. They ask for a profile of each high school to let them know what we're about. So this is our ninth school year. Our current seniors will be our 8th graduating class. Our graduation rate is 98.5%, and just to put that in perspective, Prince William County is 92.5%, the state is 91.5%, and the national graduation rate, on-time graduation rate, is 84.6%. So for that 1.5% that didn't quite make it, I've been told that every one of those students, except for one, and we're still working with that student, has graduated, has earned a diploma. So they didn't get to participate in the beautiful ceremony that we have at Chippy League, but they still have that diploma in hand. So what do our graduates do after Patriot? 61% of Patriot High School graduates attend a 4-year school, 27% a 2-year school, 10% are working in trade school or apprenticeships, and 3% are in the military. And just to give you an idea of what schools our students are going to in the state, the most popular school, George Mason, last year we had 49 seniors attending George Mason. Right below them, I believe, is JMU with close to 40. Tech is around 27. BCU is in the 30s. UVA was 22. William and Mary was 3 students attending. I think Mary Washington was like 8. CMU was 20. Just to give you an idea of how many of our students are attending those schools for each class. We're one of the largest high schools by enrollment, and I say by enrollment intentionally, in the state of Virginia. We have 728 projected 9th graders for next year. So we're staying big next year. Our enrollment is 2,800. The building was built for just over 2,000 students. Because of that, we have 20 mobile classrooms behind the school. Teachers love teaching out there, and the students, it's kind of a hassle, but the students get used to it. It really hasn't been a problem. We've been that way for about 6 years now, so we're kind of used to it. So of course that, we're overbooked. Battlefield's overbooked. Stonewall's overbooked. Not as much as Battlefield and Patriot, but they are also overbooked. And so that's why they're building a new high school in Gainesville. And in case you didn't know or know about that, it's opening in the fall of 2021. It's going to be right in the heart of Gainesville there, behind Jiffy Lube and behind Gainesville Mill. And so I would advise you to check Prince William County's website for the 13th high school. Just Google those things, and a lot of information will come up about 13th high school if you need more information about that. So just talking to give you a bigger picture of how the registration works. So the counselors from Patriot were visiting Gainesville on January 30th during the school day. Reagan on February 4th, Marsteller on February 5th. Pennington has not been determined yet. So for Reagan and Pennington, it'll just be a couple counselors. I think Pennington's just our director. He's the only one going there to register students because they have less students at Pennington than Reagan. But Gainesville, Marsteller will have all the counselors. We go out there during the school day and meet with your student. So that's kind of what's helpful in that process is if you've gone over the course selection sheet, which I'm going to talk a lot about today. If you have gone over that with your student and your student brings in that practice sheet with them while we're registering them, those registration meetings seem to work a lot better. I'm also going to post a copy of that sheet so you have it, so you can print it out and go over it with your student. So once we've met with your student, it needs to be returned March 15th. If you want to make any changes, you can make changes on that sheet at that time. Either way, no changes or changes, we sign it and return. It's going to be a duplicate, so there'll be. We keep the white copy and a duplicate. The pink and yellow copies go home. We'll keep the pink and the yellow copy comes back to us. So early June is the last day to request changes, and I put request in italics for a reason, because that's not a good strategy if you truly want to get into the elective that you're looking to do or the course level that you're looking to switch to. Because at that time, staffing has been set, and there's a good chance that classes are full, and you're not going to actually get what you're requesting at that late juncture. You should really have everything settled for sure, at least by spring break. Okay, so again, we meet with each student individually to pick classes for next year. Current 8th grade teachers are making recommendations, and the current 8th grade teachers meet with our high school 9th grade teachers. And they talk about curriculum, they talk about what they're doing in classes. The 8th grade teachers know what our 9th grade teachers teach in regular English 9 and the regular level classes, as well as the pre-APs. So they're more informed about who they think are going to be able to take pre-AP classes. So please trust their recommendations. So please review the course selection sheet with your 8th graders. Again, if you have a change that you would like to make, you can indicate that on the yellow sheet and return that before you bring it back to middle school. Please return the form to middle school counselor again by March 15th. Okay, here's a typical 9th grade schedule. So for English 9, and there's 2 levels, English 9 and pre-AP English 9. I'm going to get into the difference in the levels in a little bit. For world history, these are classes that all 9th graders have to be in. They all have to be in, regardless of diploma: English, world history, science, math. Most likely PE. There are some exceptions to that. And the 6th and 7th are electives, really. So if you're going to be in an advanced diploma, you would take a world language. If you were not going to be, if you're just going to be a standard, then that means you get another elective you can choose. So you would have 2 electives for a standard diploma, while an advanced diploma would have their foreign language and 1 other elective. So if you're a band student with an advanced diploma, you pretty much know what your schedule is going to be. You're just trying to figure out what level of classes to take at this point. 7 classes per day, each class. Every other day, year-long classes, and each class is worth 1 credit. Alright, like standard courses, they are based on literature program studies that go beyond the state expectations of the SOL test. Standards of learning. Standards of learning are minimum skills. If you pass an SOL for 400, that means you're just meeting the minimum basic standards. Courses provide students with the opportunity to meet graduation requirements while focusing on college and future readiness. Pre-AP courses extend the standard program of studies in depth and complexity. They may be a stepping stone for future advanced placement courses. And I say may be a stepping stone because just because you're in a pre-AP doesn't mean you're going to get recommended for the AP class the next year if there is one. So you need to be doing well in a pre-AP class to get that recommendation. And here's an example of the difference between English 9 and pre-AP. This isn't a random example. This is an example from a teacher's syllabus who teaches both levels. So the standard English 9, as you can see, has 3 books. Pre-AP has those 3 books plus 4 more, and one of those books is summer reading. Pre-AP classes are strong reading and writing skills because that's what's going to be expected of them in the AP classes. In-depth analysis material, again, that's AP stuff. That's what they're going to be required to give back to the teacher in SA1 in a lot of their AP classes. Yep, there's going to be an increased number of challenging projects, papers, faster pace. Pre-AP course is good for students who are personally interested in the subject, willing and able to work independently, and is self-motivated, and seeks to understand and explain the material instead of just memorizing it. So the first AP course available to our students is AP World History. AP courses, AP stands for Advanced Placement. It's nationally developed curriculum by the College Board. So our teachers who teach AP have to be certified in AP. They have to be trained to teach those AP classes. They're college level courses. And there's a mandatory AP exam in May for each course. So the AP exam is graded 1 to 5, and most colleges are requiring at this point that the score be a 4 or 5 in order for them to get college credit for it. Some colleges still do 3, but in recent years, colleges have really increased their expectations of what they're willing to give college credit for. So most courses you have to have a 4 or a 5 to actually get college credit. But each college determines that themselves. All right, here are the graduation requirements. For the standard diploma, you need 22 total credits. Again, each class passed, each year-long class passed, and every class we have is a year-long class. It's worth 1 credit. There's less core classes that are required for the standard diploma. History, math, and science, as you can see, you only need 3 credits for that. Both diplomas require 2 credits of health and PE. 10th grade PE, health, remember, is driver's ed. Econ and personal finance is required of both diplomas. Standard diploma has more elective requirements. 2 of the 5 elective credits must be sequential. In the advanced diplomas, you can see there's 4 years of history, math, and science. Both diplomas, you have to have 4 years of English, 4 years of history, math, and science, and there's the world language requirement. So if your student is not wanting to take a world language as a 9th grader, then they're basically saying that they're going for a standard diploma, and that's fine. You can go to college with a standard diploma. You need to do well in your classes, but you can still gain college admission with a standard diploma. It would be better if they're going for a standard diploma, for them to take 4 years of math and science. Colleges want to see that. They don't like to see students taking years off and not taking math for a year. They really look down on that. For your ninth grader, if you have an 11th or 12th grader, this is a change. So for their electives, 2 of those 3 credits at the bottom must be sequential. Like the current 11th and 12th graders, they don't have that sequential requirement. But the current 9th and 10th graders have a sequential requirement within those 3 electives. So please keep that in mind. Okay, these are the classes that have SOLs attached to them. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because the SOL requirements become a lot less for the current 9th and 10th graders. That's also a big difference. If you have a junior right now, their SOL requirements are the old requirement, which is 9 for the advanced diploma and 6 for the standard. So they've changed it for the current 9th 10th graders and your rising 8th grader. 5 total are required for each diploma. So there's no difference for SOL test requirements between the diplomas for 9th, 10th, and current 8th graders. Yeah, I went over this a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of re-emphasize this. There are some things as far as science goes that I need to point out. English and world history is pretty straightforward. I will mention this about it. I was told by a teacher who knows the 8th grade extended curriculum very well and our English 9 curriculum very well. English 9 and pre-EP English 9. And she said that the extended English 8th grade English is more like the regular English 9 than it is the pre-AP English 9. I'll say that again. Extended English 8 is closer to what is expected of an English 9 student rather than what is expected of a pre-AP English 9 student. World History 1, pre-AP World History. Big difference between those 2 classes is note-taking. World History 1 basically had fill-in-the-blank notes, a lot simpler. Pre-AP World have guided notes. They do a lot more essay writing. They do a lot more comparing and contrasting. So they're really being prepared for AP World in 10th grade. Here is the mathematics breakdown. You can't skip over algebra. I had a couple questions about that on Wednesday night. You have to take algebra. There is no pre-AP algebra. That is a mistake. There's no pre-AP algebra anymore. And you'll see that. It's not on the course selection sheet. I needed to take that out. That's been removed. There's only Algebra 1, Geometry, pre-AP Geometry, pre-AP Algebra 2 Trig. The only students that are eligible for pre-AP Algebra 2 Trig students are students who took Algebra and Geometry in middle school. And when you go down to the science section on the course selection sheet, you'll see environmental science. That's for real low readers or EL students. We have earth science, advanced earth science, regular biology, that should be in there, and pre-AP biology. So the regular biology or pre-AP biology, students need to be in geometry before they can take those classes. It's not for biology that becomes an issue. It becomes an issue the next year if the student's in algebra taking biology. That means most students who take biology their 9th grade year go into chemistry their 10th grade year, and that's when the math becomes a problem. So that's why we have the requirement of having to have had already taken Algebra 1 before you can take biology your freshman year. So if you're in algebra as a 9th grader, the only science you can take is earth science or advanced earth science. Biology is not an option. is the world language. So if you're taking a world language in middle school, that counts as a high school credit, first of all. So does the math, if you took algebra or geometry or both. Those both are high school credit classes, as are the world languages, French 1 or Spanish 1. Health and PE 1 is a required class. Some students who are taking band and they're taking a Project Lead the Way class, there's no room to take health and PE, because in all likelihood they're also taking a world language. So that's their 7 classes, including English, math, science, history. So something's got to give, and health and PE, those students usually take health and PE the summer before 9th grade year. You can also take it the summer after 9th grade year. It's not possible this summer. But those sign-ups for virtual Prince William and for the in-person summer school will open up right around spring break. It's usually the week before spring break. It could be it has been the week after spring break, but you'll definitely, if you're a band student who's also a Project Lead the Way student, you'll definitely want to look into taking health and PE at some point during the summer. Here's some frequently asked questions. Can students take creative classes while working for the same diploma? Absolutely. You also don't have to be an AP scholar in order to take AP classes down the line. As far as the diploma types, the level of classes does not play into the diploma type formula. What matters with the diploma type is what classes you're actually taking. So there's standard level classes of U.S. history and government, and algebra 2, fourth math. There's standard level of all those classes, so you can still get the advanced diploma. What usually prevents students from getting the advanced diploma is that 4th year of math and the foreign language requirement. And of course, if you start off taking the advanced and you can't quite meet the expectations, you can always switch to a standard in the middle of your high school career if you have to. Can students switch classes during the middle of the year? No, students can't switch classes in the middle of the year. Have students switch classes in the middle of the year? Yes, there are extenuating circumstances where you can appeal to an administrator, and sometimes those switches need to take place, but we get a lot of students and parents who request, wow, he doesn't like art, so we'd like him to switch. That's not a compelling reason, and that will not be approved by administration. A C in a pre-AP class is not grounds for switching to a regular level class. So here's the other thing, and this is why I spent so much time on getting the levels right when we're doing the course selections and encouraging you to stick with whatever the teacher is recommending for your student. Because say your student is not doing well in their pre-AP English class, getting a D or an F, it's not happening. It's not always an easy switch. That may affect 3 other classes just to make it possible for them to switch into a regular English 9. There's not necessarily going to be a regular English 9 class open during the block that they have pre-AP, so it's going to affect their whole schedule. So it's really important that we get them in the right places to begin with. Hopefully this was helpful, and I encourage you to look up your particular student's counselor's name on our website, Patriots website. So we're assign students by alphabet. My alphabet is, for instance, is R-O-E to T-A, so Rota, and any last name with those between those letters or within those letters, or you're my student, and so you would contact me if you have any follow-up questions, and so I encourage you to go to our website and find out who your counselor is. We really look forward to working with you, and hopefully this was helpful.